Welcome to the Recruiting Stories Podcast, where we celebrate recruiting by exploring the stories of leaders and top performers by digging into their stories and understanding how recruiting has impacted their journey and their success. Welcome to the next edition of the Recruiting Stories Podcast, everybody. It's a solo edition with me, guys. I'm continuing the theme of 5. This is we just celebrated our 5th year in business with Cover 3, and I want to talk about the 5 things I would do if I were in the job market right now. I've recruited for over a decade now. I've helped thousands of people now move and transition in their careers. So I'm going to give you 5 really simple things that I would do if I were in the job hunt that might be helpful for you. So the first thing that I would do is update my LinkedIn. That's a pretty simple one, right? I know that, there's probably a lot that happens. Maybe you're in the midst of thinking about getting a new job. I might be somebody who maybe I got laid off, maybe got fired, maybe I quit. First thing that you want to do is update your LinkedIn. I know there's a lot of questions that you might have around that, but really you think about the world we live in today, and your resume lives online, right? Your resume is also your personal brand. People ask me all the time, like, no, is the resume dead? No, the resume is not dead. We still use it for a number of reasons. And I refer to that like that's your baseball card. And when I talk about that, posted about it the other day, if you flip over a baseball card, on the back of it is your career statistics. Here's everything that I've done. Your resume really needs to define the metrics of how you've succeeded in any given role. And it's your chance to tell a story that solves a problem for an organization. And so, that's a conversation for another day. We could talk a little bit more about resumes another time, but I would go update my resume right now. Here's what I'm doing right now. Here's my experience. Take a new, updated professional photo, something I got to do here shortly that I've got scheduled. Banner photo, just input everything that is on there, give it some opportunities for recruiters like myself. When I type in a keyword search, the things that matter will pop up. If you're in transportation, LTL, full truckload, imports, exports, ocean, air, what certifications do you have? DOD freight, flatbed, heavy haul, oversized, certain things that might be helpful for me to know about you. If you throw in, here's what what types of freight do you move, right? I'm an expert in food and beverage, types of freight, oil and gas, agricultural bulk freight, commodities. The more that you can add that will help somebody from a Boolean search standpoint, even better, right? So update your LinkedIn. That's my first tip for you. That's a pretty easy one. Just go block off, half an hour, and just go fill in the gaps there. 2 is if I were on the job hunt right now, I would reach out to every close colleague I've had in my career and just say, hey, it's a chance. I know people feel like, oh, maybe I'm embarrassed, whether you're laid off or you got fired, or maybe you just chose to quit somewhere, or, whatever the situation is. It's a really good chance to just say, hey, I'm on a path somewhere new. Wanted to see how things were going with you. Wanted to tell you a little bit about where I'm at. I want you to tell me about what you're doing. And what you'll find is if you approach it from that standpoint, it's like, I want to catch up, and you want to create a genuine relationship there. You'll find that people really want to help you. And they want to jump in and say, hey, you should talk to so-and-so who works over here. Or have you ever thought about this? You might even ask them some questions like, what do you think that I should do next? What do you think that I'm good at? All of those questions that are really introspective. I know that can be scary, but if you're willing to have that conversation and write down the answers, man, you'll learn a lot about yourself, and it should give you some data points to chart your course forward. And really, I would make a list, like who are all the people that I respect, that I valued time with in the last 5 to 10 years of my career. I'm going to reach out to them, let them know where I'm at, and see if that is helpful in my journey forward. So that's number two. Number three is I'm going to reach out to as many people doing what I'd like to do as possible. And then I'm going to ask to buy them coffee or take them to lunch. This is extremely powerful in your job search. I know it can be scary. One, you might have relationships with some of them already. That might be some of the people who are colleagues that we talked about earlier, but it might be completely cold, right? This might be adding people on LinkedIn who work at a company that you're interested in, and then reaching out to them and saying, hey, I'm super curious how you became a project manager. I'm really curious about how you became a vice president of sales. Now, this works best when you are one level away from this position, right? If I am an account coordinator, right? I'm in operations, and I decide I want to be a chief revenue officer. Typically, that's a little bit harder to. Obviously, you're not going to jump right into that. You can still do that though, as far as um, getting getting a conversation, having coffee with that person. And the way I would approach it is, hey, I'm in a transitional period in my career, and I'm really curious how you got to where you're going. Now, a bunch of people are going to say no, but there's going to be a few people who say, yeah, I'd love to tell you about myself. And if you ask them from that standpoint, you're appealing to their ego, right? I'm very impressed with how you got to where you got in your career. I'd love to learn how you got there, to maybe take some of those things and apply them to my own career. One, it applies to your ego, you're complimenting them. But two, it also gives them a chance to talk about themselves. And who doesn't love to talk about themselves? We all do it. We all want to say, "Oh, well, look what I did," and look at how great that I've done. And I would love to share my wisdom and my knowledge with you. We all do it, whether you like it or not. It's true. So you can appeal to people in that way. And at the same time, it's an opportunity for you to learn about their path, and see if you can take anything from that and then apply it. When you do this, it's really important. Near the end of this conversation, just try to do 30 minutes of coffee, grab breakfast or lunch or something with someone. One, hey, just wanted to, this is really helpful. Thanks for, letting me talk to you about this. You know, what do you think my next steps would be? What would you do if you were in my shoes? That's one question. Another question I would say is, who do you think I need to know in this industry? Is there someone that I need to know? And then three is there anything that I can do to help you in your journey and what you're doing right now? And you'll find a few things. One is they may say, hey, this is what I would do. So let me give you a possible pathway you didn't know about. Two is actually, I know somebody really important that I'm going to introduce you to. Let me introduce you to so and so. If they say, hey, there is this guy, Johnny, John Doe over here, he's the vice president of ABC company. He's the owner of XYZ company. If they leave it there, simply ask, do you know them well enough that you could introduce me? Um, they may say yes or no to that. But that's a great way to get an introduction, just to say, hey, I'm looking to learn, and grow in my career. And then finally, when you say, what can I do to help you? That's a really great opportunity for them to say, man, we may need someone with your skill set. Or, um, you know, hey, I may have the right person in my company that I'd like to introduce you to that would start the process for a potential career. So that's how I would go about that. If you're trying to meet people who are doing the things that you want to do, make a list of those roles and companies that you would like to work for. Like I said, if that's a vice president of sales, or if that's a, project manager, or if that's a, director of marketing, figure out what that is, make a list of all of those people, and then a bunch of people are going to say no. All you need is a few people to say yes, to help give you some data points and hopefully create some connections and networking opportunities for you. Number 4, create your baseball card. That's your resume. Okay, we talked about that a little bit earlier. Okay, if you are interested, I have a one-pager that I send out to people that's helpful. This is basically teaches you how to tell a story that solves a problem for an organization. There's a few different things that companies struggle with. One of them is making money. Two is keeping money. Three is finding talent. Four is keeping talent. And five is innovation. These are typically the five things that companies need people for. And you can prove that you can help in one of those areas. And if you can prove through data on your baseball card, on your resume, you have a much higher percent chance of getting an opportunity there. Most of the time, people, the issue they have when they create a resume, I see it every single day, every day in what I do. They list the things that they have done. Okay. They just basically say, I was the director of customer success. I led a team of, they just basically list their job, what was on their job description. They like copy and paste it onto their resume. Like if you say I'm the director of customer success, or I'm the director of operations, or I'm the, I'm an account manager. Like I know what that is, and so does the president of a company. But that doesn't tell me why I should hire you. That tells me those are table stakes. Tells me that you did something for a number of years. I don't know if you were highly successful at it or you were a placeholder in that organization. Doesn't give me any reason that I should believe in you. What you need to do is you need to be able to say, in this position, I contributed to the success of the organization to such a degree that it made this impact. Then use data to prove that. If you cannot do that, your resume is not worth looking at. And for me, as someone that I look at all day, there's a reason that we only look at resumes, the data says, for 15 seconds or less. It's because it's very easy to weed out a lot of resumes. Okay. So I want to find someone that one fits the qualifications, right? There's some basics there that if you want that one pager, shoot me a message. I'd be happy to send it to you. But two, it needs to be meaty, right? Like it needs to be like content rich. Okay. And it needs to be something that says, this is why I need to hire this person. And it needs to be because they solve a problem for my organization in a way that somebody else couldn't. Okay. You tell stories, solve the problem for my organization. To create a resume that is compelling, your chance to sell yourself. You got to do it in a very concise way. If you can do that, man, you're going to win. You're going to get opportunities that other people won't. Five is create a 90-day game plan for unemployment, or your just job search in general. So I would approach this much like I would my first 90 days in an organization. What is my goal? And what do I want to accomplish here? And then what are the steps I have to take to achieve this? Of course, you can't do the whole thing in day one, but work backwards from there. And so sometimes you may have to give yourself weekly goals. If my goal is to have a job, sometime, I may say, hey, you know what? I need to be applying to a certain number of roles a day. Personally, I'm not a big go online and apply type of a person. I'm more of a go network with people kind of a person. So my standpoint would be like, I need to be having at least 10 conversations with other people, about my current job status or networking a day, right? Maybe that's with a recruiter. Maybe, and so that would be, yes, I need to be applying for things, or yes, I need to be reaching out to them on LinkedIn or another platform of some sort. Set that goal for yourself. Weekly, I need to be having this many conversations. Yes, maybe weekly, I need to apply for a set given number of roles. I need to have my resume updated by this time next week. Should do that ASAP. But if you don't prioritize those things, time will just go by. There's always a million other things to do. We all have lives and kids and other activities and laundry and dishes and house projects. And if you don't schedule it and make time for it, put it on your calendar, you're never going to do it. And so my suggestion is to create a 90-day game plan for yourself where you work backwards on the goals that you want and create those. So figure out what that would be and start to look at those numbers and guide you. After the first week, if I had 10 conversations a day, was that way too much? What did those results yield? Am I learning from those things? Am I talking to the wrong people? Is that not getting me? Do I need to talk to different people to get me to where I want to go? Take notes, look at the data, and then you need to iterate from there and figure out where you're going. So I'd be happy to talk with you, by the way. If you are, say you're on the job hunt, especially if you're in logistics, that's the world I serve in. I have conversations with people every single day. Obviously, there are some that work well with our clients that I can help. And that's, that's how we make money at Cover 3 Consulting. We place people into companies, but there's also people I talk with a lot who I can't help, but I may want to give you advice on how to job search and how to develop your personal brand. I have well over 30,000 connections in my network on LinkedIn, and that's by no accident. It's because I've been very intentional about doing that over over a decade now of trying to connect with people in a given space, having conversations online. Some people probably think I'm obnoxious because I post weekly on LinkedIn, but I've also been able to create a lot of relationships with people there as well and share my expertise. And I always tell people that for me, that part of personal branding is not because I think I'm smarter than people or think that I'm better than people. That's my billboard. It's a chance for me to say, hey, let me share with you some of the things that I learned, and hopefully that will help educate you on your job search process, on your hiring process. If you're a hiring manager or you're an owner of a recruit or owner of a transportation company. And I would go back to the fishing guide example. We fish every single day, in the river that is the transportation talent marketplace. If you are not fishing every single day in there, your chances of finding the talent you need are not as good as mine, because I do. I know where the fish are, and I know what they eat, and I know what they're looking for. I know what the compensation packages need to be. I know, what they're hungry for and what the challenges are in finding those. And that is why you partner with a Cover 3 Consulting and someone like myself. So you've got it. It takes time to develop a personal brand. It takes time to develop an expertise. But if you don't start now, you're not going to have that at your disposal later on. And I say all the time, I'm grateful and fortunate that I've got thousands and thousands of people that I could reach out to and ask questions and learn from. If you don't, man, it's such a great resource. We live in a time, in the world where if you're not building a personal brand, if you're not building a network, it's your own fault for not doing that. It's free. I mean, you can go do that right now. Nobody's stopping you from doing that. All you have to do is ask and reach out to people. It took me a while to figure that out too. I was frustrated that some people had connections that I didn't have. But guess what? The internet exists today, and we can reach out to whoever we want. And I found out pretty early. I was a very early adopter of LinkedIn. Some crazy stories for me that happened. Like one of them, the whole reason that I got a chance to compete with the United States bobsled team was there was a connection on there. I was trying to help get a job with a company called Career Athletes, Athlete Network, that I was on, and we met on LinkedIn. Just crazy. And I just was like, hey, I'm going to reach out to this guy. He has a cool background. I'm going to see if I can help him in the job that I was in. I was going to help him try to find a job. Turns out I had an opportunity to go compete with him. I've gotten to, talk with interview billionaires because I reached out and asked, hey, can I interview you? Or can I, have you on a podcast, basically. My wife, we basically met on LinkedIn. Our first conversation we ever had was on LinkedIn. So the point being is, like, if you don't get out there and just ask, you're never going to find the opportunities that you are looking for. So my encouragement to you is this: reach out. Don't be afraid to ask. The worst someone is going to say is no. And I promise you'll be okay if someone tells you no. It'll make you better. You'll learn from that experience. So let me recap. Here are the things that I would do if I were in the job market right now. One, I'd update my LinkedIn. I'd go online, update my LinkedIn, give my LinkedIn a fresh look. I'd fill in the gaps on my resume and my experience, because personal branding and your online presence is more important today than it ever has been. And that's where recruiters, hiring managers, executives go to find the talent that they're looking for. is online, and you need to do that today. That's number one. Two is I'd reach out to every close colleague I've had in my career and just let them know, hey, here's where I'm at. I'd love to get some advice from you and catch up. Three, I'd reach out to as many people doing what I'd like to do as possible, try to take them to lunch, see if there's anything that they would advise or, possible connections that they could provide for you in the process, and give yourself a goal on that. I mean, try to meet with, 5 people a week if you can, once a day. Create your baseball card, create your resume, and do it the right way. People ask all the time about resume services. There are some good ones out there. There are some bad ones out there. I'm happy to send you my one-pager that tells you how to write your resume. Ask me for that. If you'd like for recommendations on some resume services, I'm happy to send you some recommendations on that as well. 5 is create a 90-day game plan for unemployment. Have a plan. If you don't have a plan, it's a plan to fail. And then finally, just my advice is, if you don't ask, you're not going to have it, right? If you're not going to have opportunities, worst someone is going to say is no. So my encouragement is to get out there and ask. So that's it. That's this episode. I hope it was really helpful for you guys. Like I said, I'm in your corner. I want you to succeed. I want to help you guys grow in your careers. I want to see the transportation companies we work with thrive and do great things for a greater purpose. And we hope that we help some folks, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for listening to the Recruiting Stories podcast. If you haven't yet, subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Check us out on LinkedIn. Adrian Chapman and Cover 3 Consulting is our company page. Also check out our website, www.cov3consulting.com. Again, thanks for joining us, and we just simply want to remind you that you can change the world by putting people in a position where they can do the most good, and you do that by recruiting. Thanks again for joining us. We'll see you next time.